we're back for more A Treasure Discovery by LizzeXX. We are on the final chapter of the Dalek episode. So, if you would like to follow along, chat links to the fanfiction.net and AO Free are in the description below, as always. So let's get started. Chapter 3, Dalek, Gullible Humans. Come on! They could hear Adam shouting to Rose over the comm. The doctor stared at the monitor of the computer intently, waiting. The vault is sealed, Van Staten confirmed. The doctor leapt out of his seat. Rose? Where are you? Rose, did you make it? Sorry, she replied, out of breath. I was a bit slow. His eyes widened in horrible shock. See you then, Doctor. He was just silent. It wasn't your fault, she added, her voice trembling. Remember that, okay? It wasn't your fault. And you know what? She choked up a bit. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. The Time Lady stepped forward, taking the doctor's hand, squeezing it as tightly as she could, which wasn't much at the moment, but the contact was more than enough. Especially when... Exterminate! The sound of the laser fired. The doctor tore off his earpiece as the office fell into a stunned silence. I killed her, he breathed. It killed her, the woman corrected, squeezing his hand once more. He looked down to see her looking up at him, a truth in her eyes she was willing him to see. I'm sorry, Van Staten murmured. The doctor turned to him, not letting go of the woman's hand. I said I'd protect her. She was only here because of me, and you're sorry. I could have killed that Dalek in its cell, but you stopped me. It was the prize of my collection. It actually looked alien. Your collection? The doctor spat, furious, his hand tightening around that of the Time Lady. But was it worth it? Worth all those men's death? Worth Rose? No reply. Let me tell you something, Van Staten. Mankind goes to space to explore, to be a part of something greater. Exactly, he stood. I wanted to touch the stars. You just want to drag the stars down and stick them underground underneath tons of sand and dirt, the doctor counted vehemently. And label them. You're about as far from the stars as you can get. And you took her down with you. The Time Lady rested her head against the doctor's arm. His expression softened to a sad, grief-stricken one as he turned to her, knowing she would understand. If she came to Earth with the Dalek, then she had been sucked out of the war with it. She would know what he was feeling. She was 19 years old. She let out a shuddering breath at that, nodding into his shoulder, understanding exactly what he meant. Rose closed her eyes, ready for the Dalek to kill her, hearing it approach, but then nothing. She opened her eyes cautiously and looked around. Go on then. Kill me. There was no reply, so she spun around angrily. Why are you doing this? I am armed, it warned her. I will kill. It is my purpose. They're all dead because of you. They are dead because of us. Rose's mouth dropped open, shaken by that. Now what? What are you waiting for? I feel your fear. What'd you expect? Daleks do not fear, must not fear. It shot a laser at Rose, missing her completely, shooting the wall on either side of her. You gave me life, it cried, hysterical. What else have you given me? I am contaminated. Adam stepped out of the lift and into Van Staten's office, the doctor rounding on him as the Time Lady leaned against the desk. A curious look on her face as she gazed, unseeing at the monitor on the wall. You were quick on your feet, leaving Rose behind, he shouted. I'm not the one who sealed the vault, Adam cried, indignant. Suddenly, the screen sprang to life, revealing Rose to be standing by the Dalek's side. Open the bulkhead, or Rose Tyler dies, it threatened. The doctor took a few steps towards the screen, so relieved to see her. You're alive! Can't get rid of me. She tried to smile. I thought you were dead. Open the bulkhead, the Dalek cut in. Don't do it, Rose shouted. What use are emotions if you will not save the woman you love? The doctor was stunned, staring at the Dalek in confusion. He knew he didn't love Rose. She was a friend, a companion. And in a way, he loved her as only that. But to hear Dalek speaking of love, as though trying to understand it, but that was a Dalek. They would do anything to complete the mission. He turned to Van Staten. It killed her once. He walked around to the computer. I can't let it do it again. Hey, a little change of line. He said it, not I. Anyway, and hit the return key, opening the bulkhead for Rose and the Dalek to go through. What do we do now? Van Staten cried. You're bleeding hot. What the hell do we do? The Dalek just stared at him wordlessly. Kill it when it gets here, Adam said. All the guns are useless and the alien weapons are in the vault, Goddard reminded him. Only the catalog ones, Adam replied. Van Staten turned to him, eyebrows raised, while Adam just looked back at him apologetically. The doctor turned, turning to the time lady. Stay here with them. He nodded at Goddard and Van Staten. No. She shook her head. You're still recovering. You're not strong. I'm strong enough for this. Listen, we haven't got time. I'm going with you, she cut in, eyeing him intently. That Dalek? She nodded at the monitor, blinking back tears. I killed my sister. In front of my eyes. I'll stand at the sidelines if you wish. But I am going. He looked at her, recalling the war and experiencing the same loss she felt with friends. He nodded, taking her hand and heading out with Adam. The doctor stood in Adam's workroom, going through a basket of the uncatalogued weapons while the time lady stood off to the side, leaning on the work table, her hand absently rubbing her chest as her heart beat fiercely. Broken, he commented, lifting one and chucking it aside to take another. Broken. He chucked that one too and grabbed one more. Hairdryer. Mr. Van Staten tends to dispose of his stuff, Adam explained, watching him. And when he does, he wipes their memory. I kept this stuff in case I needed to fight my way out one day. What? You? In a fight? The doctor scoffed, eyeing him. I'd like to see that. I could do, Adam pouted, mildly offended. What are you going to do? Throw your A-levels at them? He retorted, before picking up the last gun. Oh, yes. Lock and load. He looked over at the time lady, who nodded at him, and they were off. Rose and the Dalek stood in the lift to Van Staten's office. The atmosphere very tense as Rose watched Dalek's laser arm twitch. Becky, you, don't kill them. You didn't kill me. The Dalek spun its eye stalk to Rose so fast she had to duck back out of the way to avoid it. But why not? He asked her. Why are you alive? My function is to kill. What am I? What am I? The door opened to reveal Van Staten standing there waiting. Don't move, Rose warned. Don't do anything. It's beginning to question itself. As Dalek advanced towards Van Staten. Van Staten, you tortured me. Why? Van Staten backed away, clearly terrified. I wanted to help you. I don't know. I was just trying to help. I thought we could get through to you if we could bend you. I wanted you better. I'm sorry. He glanced back and he was backed against the wall. I'm so sorry. I swear. I just wanted you to talk. Then hear me talk now. Exterminate! Exterminate! Van Staten winced, preparing. Exterminate! Don't do it! Rose rushed over. Don't kill him! The dog spun to face her as she looked straight into its eye stalk. You don't have to do this anymore. There must be something else. Not just killing. What else is there? What do you want? The dog turned back to Van Staten and then to Rose. I want freedom. Rose walked down the corridor of floor 01 with the Dalek, stopping in the center as it fired a laser at the ceiling, making a hole through which sunlight flooded the room, shining on them. You're out, she told it. You hate it. She looked up and smiled. I thought I'd see the sunlight again. How does it feel? It wondered. A moment later, Rose stepped back as the Dalek opened up its casing to reveal the mutated creature within. It looked like a peach octopus with a deflated brain, one eye, and tentacles. It lifted one of its feelers out towards the sunlight. Rose gazed at it, stunned, until a voice behind her made her jump. Get out of the way! The doctor shouted. She spun around to see him holding a gun, pointing it at the Dalek, a woman with dark hair and dirty clothes standing behind him from the side. She stared at him in shock, making no move. Rose, get out of the way now! No! She shook her head. So why let you do this? That thing killed hundreds of people. It's not the one pointing the gun at me, she countered coldly. I've got to do this. I've got to end it. The Daleks destroyed my home, my people. Look at it. She stepped aside and gestured towards it. What's it doing? He asked, confused. It's the sunlight. That's all it wants. But it can't. He shook his head, his voice shaking. It couldn't kill Van Stan. It couldn't kill me. It's changing. What about you, Doctor? What the hell are you changing to? The doctor lowered the gun, looking completely lost. I couldn't. He breathed, closed his ears, as Rose stared at him. The tiny lady just kept her eyes on the Dalek, as she had from the moment they arrived. Frozen. He looked at the Dalek and back to Rose. Rose, I thought they were all dead. Why do we survive? The Dalek asked him. I don't know. I am the last of the Dalek. The Dalek replied, making an effort to speak before its suction arm twitched at them. But you are not the last of your kind. The doctor glanced behind him, just staring at the Dalek, shaking before he glanced back at it. No, I'm not. Not anymore. Rose gasped, realizing the woman was a Time Lord as well. It is not fair. I know, and I'm sorry. You see, Rose turned to the Dalek. If one of these people survived, maybe one of yours did too. You believe so? The Dalek asked. Can always hope. She smiled gently down at it. Humans feel hope? Yeah. Humans, it began, struggling to speak. Humans are so. Rose started to smile. Gullible! The Dalek shouted, and before anyone could move, it fired a laser straight at the Time Lady, striking her in the chest, the force throwing her back. Rose jumped away, scared at the sudden move, when the doctor fired, shooting the Dalek dead in retaliation. She let out a shuddering breath, her eyes wide, staring at the last remains of the Dalek, absolutely stunned. She had defended it, stood in the way of the doctor killing it, protected it, only for it to try and kill the woman instead. Woman! She looked over at the doctor to see him already on his knees before the fallen woman who had started to glow orange. What's happening? She shouted, running over. The doctor didn't answer, just stood up and pulled her back, away from the woman, as a blast of orange exploded around her. Rose flinched and covered her eyes from the brightness. A moment later, the woman sat up with a gasp. The doctor quickly kneeling at her side again, rubbing her back as she took a few deep breaths. Right there? He asked her, just a hint of laughter in his voice. Laughter of belief, of joy. The woman opened her mouth to reply when a small breath of orange escaped from it. She gave a little laugh and turned to the doctor. That better? He smiled widely, helping her stand, shaky though she was, getting used to her new legs. Still a bit off from the fourth third generation. He took the time to look at her now, taking her the new woman she'd become. Her hair was a warm gold, straight, falling an inch or two past her shoulders. Her eyes a dark green with flecks of gold in them. She was very fair, though it may have just been the time spent underground that had made her so pale. She was only 2 inches taller than she had been, from what he could tell. Fantastic. He shook his head. Goddard walked slowly up to Van Stan as he stood in the hallway, several guards behind him. She nodded, and they grabbed him by the shoulders, pushing him backwards as she followed them at a brisk walk. What the hell are you doing? He cried. 200 personnel dead, and all because of you, sir, she replied coldly. Take it away, wipe his memory, and leave him by the road someplace. You can't do this to me! I am Henry Van Stan! And by tonight, Henry Van Stan will be a homeless, brainless junkie living on the streets of San Diego, Seattle, Sacramento. She turned away with a flourish and a very satisfied smile. Someplace beginning with S. The doctor stood in the exhibit room, smiling, watching as the Time Lady stood before the TARDIS, looking at the box with tears in her eyes, a small, utterly happy smile on her face that warmed his heart. She slowly lifted her hand and placed it in the corner of it. He said a little piece of home, crossed his arms, said nothing. She tilted her head, for her eyes widened. She's a type 40. Yep, he nodded. She squinted and thought. The challenge circuit is broken, though, isn't it? He frowned. How'd you know? A50's telephone box? Doesn't exactly blend in, does it? She asked, looking back at him with a small smirk before turning to the box and sighing. She's so old, but still has so much life to her. You've seen much with her. She gently stroked beside the wood. You broke the circuit early on your very first trip. He stepped up beside her, looking intently down at her. How could you possibly know that? She dropped her hand and stepped back, shaking her head out of her thoughts. Look at him. My family were responsible for the TARDISes on Gallifrey, growing them, nurturing them, harvesting them, preparing them, and repairing them. My mom always used to say I had an affinity with them. Could always read them. Used to, Rose called quietly from her spot a few feet away, where she'd been watching the whole interaction. Besides the war, the woman replied, smiling sadly at Rose. She was helping to transport a few TARDISes to the southern hemisphere when the shuttle was attacked. The pilots had to crash his ship, killed all of them, and destroyed the TARDISes, just to keep them out of enemy hands. She died just before the naming ceremony. Naming ceremony? Rose asked. It's a tradition on Gallifrey, the doctor explained. To pick your name or title if you wish. He blinked, as though just realizing something, and turned to the landlady. What's your name? The Angel, she replied. The Angel? Rose raised an eyebrow. That was a bit pretentious. My mom. She used to call me her angel, she said quietly. And when she died just before the ceremony, it seemed right, fitting, beautiful, the doctor praised, before grinning broadly, glancing at the TARDIS. Do you want to see inside? I love to, she beamed. She never thought she'd see a TARDIS again. We'd better get out, Adam called, jogging up to them just as the doctor was about to open the door. Von Stanton disappeared. They're closing down the base. The doctor turned to face him, his arms folded, not very pleased with the interruption. Carter says they're going to fill it full of cement, like it never existed. About time? Rose agreed with the decision. I'll have to go back home. Better hurry up then. The doctor checked his watch. Next flight to Heathrow leaves at 1500 hours. Adam will say that all his life he's wanted to see the stars. Rose hinted hopefully at the doctor. Tell him to go and stand outside then, he replied. He glanced over at the angel, who was frowning with a curious look at Adam. It wasn't a nasty look, like she was peeved that he had interrupted her, or might be coming, but more concerned and almost reluctant for some reason. He's all on his own, Doctor. And he did help. He left you down there. So did you. What are you talking about? Adam cut in. We got to leave. Rose, he was a bit pretty, the doctor remarked. His eyes on Rose as the angel smiled at their banter. I hadn't noticed, Rose replied innocently. The doctor raised his eyebrows skeptically and turned to the TARDIS. On your own head. What are you doing? Adam asked as the doctor entered the box. She said cement, he added, when the captain alien entered as well. She wasn't joking. We're going to get sealed in, followed by Rose. Doctor, he called, very concerned for their sanity. What are you doing standing inside a box? Rose? He peered through the doors and stepped inside, only to see a huge room within. He blinked in shock. The doctor got the TARDIS back to the vortex, leaving Rose to explain everything to Adam, before turning to the angel. So? He asked her, grinning in anticipation. She's beautiful, she whispered, earning a beam from him. A treasure. She stepped forward, placing her hand on the rotor, whispering mentally to the TARDIS, as she often did to communicate with them on Gallifrey. Hello, friend. And that's the end of chapter chapter 3, sorry. But yeah. So we got a regeneration. And I don't know if it was hinted a little with the chapter title that something might happen, but there was also a hint about her knowing. I don't know how to say it without spoiling anything. Let's just say, did anyone notice that Angel rubbed her chest? Like, does that not seem a little suspicious somehow? Like she knew something. And wasn't that where the Dalek hit her? So, but yeah, we had a regeneration. She now looks like the actress in the thumbnails. So, yeah. But anyway, if you like this chapter, leave a like. Go leave a review or a comment on either website, whichever one works for you. I don't think you need an account for either of them. You can also leave a kudos as well on archive if you want. You don't need an account again. And if you do leave a comment or a review, come back and tell me about it. But otherwise, I don't want to know. Also, be sure to subscribe. I upload videos Fridays and Saturdays. And I'll see you guys next Friday with a new video. Bye!